Hi, this is Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz, of the Preacher Articles writer from Israel 365 News, formerly Breaking Israel News, bringing you the light from Zion, the light of truth coming out of Zion. I am here tonight. I have an amazing guest, a man I've wanted to present to you for a very long time. This is Rabbi Harry Moskoff. He's an investigative archaeologist, journalist, and producer. The most amazing thing about him is he's wrote his book, the Ark Project. Let me see if I can get all this in. Yeah, the Ark Project. I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. It's
The Ark Report.
the Ark Report. I'm sorry, the Ark Report. He's been in search of the Ark of the Covenant, and the thing is, Rabbi Harry is one of the few people who does this, who not only he knows all the Jewish sources that are relevant, and nothing is hidden. So he knows the background of where to look for the Ark of the Covenant, which is huge. I wanted to speak to Rabbi Moskoff, because there was recently an issue where a truck went onto the Temple Mount for illegal digging by the Waqf, by the Muslim Authority, and it broke open a flagstone. And you have to remember that every stone you look at up there, they did not ever bring up any building material. Everything up there is from the first and second temple. The timbers that were used to make the Aqsa Mosque, they managed to get a hold of one of them because it collapsed early in the 20th century, and it was from the first temple. So everything up there is ancient. Nothing has been moved, changed. Nothing has been brought up. So this flagstone broke open, and there was a tunnel. There was something under it. And there's a huge tunnel complex underneath that we know about, but we've never seen, at least not recently. And to our great dismay, and it was verified by archaeologists to be from the second temple, by an archaeologist to be from the Second Temple period. Not sure exactly what it was, but it was certainly from the Second Temple. And just a few days after opening it up, the Waqf Muslim Authority had it filled in with concrete. They didn't destroy it, but if we ever do get a chance to investigate, it will have to be by pulling out all that solid concrete. So, Rabbi Moskoff,
Yes.
what I'd like to know how you saw this and what you thought of this incident.
Okay, just a disclaimer before I start, based on what you were saying before about the Ark of the Covenant, that really only Eliyahu Navi, Elijah the prophet, really knows where it is. You know, I'm not I just, like you said, I gather all the sources, and I have a theory, and I prove that theory in my book, as you mentioned. Thank you, the Ark Report. And so I follow that, and I probably do have actually the most information on the whereabouts of from Jewish sources, and also archaeological sources, historical, topographical, you name it, as well as the other temple artifacts as well, stories and everything. We'll get into that, but yeah, it is something that is very much part of my passion, and
the amazing thing is that archaeology in Israel is the Bible. So
yeah, that's right.
So there's no such thing in Israel as non-biblical archaeology.
That's right.
It's all,
that's right. That's what Mike Huckabee, Governor Mike Huckabee, who's in my book and in my film, he said the exact same thing. A couple of years ago when I interviewed him. So that was it's true. It's a known fact. A good point, Eliyahu.
So what was your experience with this tunnel that just got opened up last week? We're talking about last week.
Right. I actually saw, as you mentioned, I think in a previous article, I was there about 2 weeks ago. I just happened to be on the Mount of Olives overlooking it. I saw this massive truck parked right beside Al-Aqsa on the eastern side. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing, actually. I think it was just a massive dump truck.
Which was probably being used for illegal construction.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question about it. They are hiding, they are covering up, and they even actually took down a couple ancient pillars, columns underneath Al-Aqsa, as well as, like you said, those very old, those ancient, huge beams in Al-Aqsa that were taken. Actually, some of them really are from the First Temple period, and some of them are from the Royal Basilica. That was a huge, incredible, impressive structure, Herodian structure on the southern end of the Temple Mount. So some of those huge beams are still around, and as it turns out, they're still around. Yeah, they're still here.
So you saw
They're
the
actually,
truck. You
yeah, I
saw the
saw the
truck.
track. And by the way, just for the record, those beams are being held in the Golden Gate, totally exposed to the elements, just sitting there. I saw them myself when I went up to the.
Anyone who goes up to Temple Mount can see them, and you won't believe it because they're off to the side of the Golden Gate, the Shar Rachamim, the Mercy Gate.
Right,
There are
right.
stairs going down. They're underneath a tarp, and you would think that they're like timbers that they had left
Yeah.
over from building.
That's a tragedy. That is a tragedy. Someone really there,
And these are from the first temple, King
and second.
Solomon, and second temple, King
Yeah,
Solomon. This was from the temple, and they're
right.
just sitting. I even heard that at one point the Arab they caught the Arabs burning them for a
Right.
campfire.
They set them out. I think there's a place in Ofra actually that has a
Yeah,
couple of these in a warehouse or something.
yeah,
Finally, to answer your question about the hole there, it's very. First of all, it was really like you say, min hashamayim, a godly thing. Like they say, kol min hashamayim, everything's from heaven. But the fact that this tile actually opened up as a result of a truck going over it or something like that. First of all, that in itself is a divine providence, and it allowed Israel the opportunity, in my opinion, obviously the lost opportunity, but I think it'll happen again. I'm pretty sure to actually go under there, cordon it off without any excuses. It happened by itself. It wasn't like the propaganda. They're going to say we're undermining the Al-Aqsa and we're all of the rest of it.
right.
But
You have to separate this into religious, spiritual, and science. From a
right,
scientific perspective, an archaeologist. I spoke to an archaeologist. He was inches away from crying because because here he had an opportunity, this
that's
rare
right.
opportunity to investigate things from 2,000 years ago,
Yeah,
and the Israel he kind of hinted, if
yeah.
he didn't say it outright, that the Israeli Archaeology the authority um, didn't move on it. They didn't move on it. That's their purview, and they just didn't move on it.
Well, they were waiting for the political green light from the PMO, the Prime Minister's office.
And that'll never
They,
happen because the political side of it, there's the archaeology of course we want to know,
right.
and there's the political side of it that it's kind of sticky, because if we find that I was told that during the Camp David Accords, they were talking about the Temple Mount, and Arafat looked at Bill Clinton and said there was never a Jewish temple, and and
Yeah,
and Bill Clinton he couldn't he was stopped dead because he was just like, you can't
uh,
be serious, and Arafat was.
yeah.
So there
I
is
have a
a
name for that. I call it TDS, Temple Denial Syndrome.
there is I can think of some
Barkai, he helped me.
associations there. um, and they're probably the same
Yeah,
people. Actually, you and I were talking.
right.
We both met a reporter from National Geographic. He was the archaeology reporter, and you and I
Right.
both had the same experience where the man turned around and he said, there's never been any archaeology done on the Temple Mount. There's no archaeological proof that a Jewish temple ever existed. And I was floored. This is
The National Geographic, I was supposed to meet that guy at the conference. And I knew right away what that he has. What I was worried about if I do meet him, how he's going to spin it. Because National Geographic has a very bad history of anti-Israel, maybe not anti-Semitism, but bordering. In fact, a friend of mine, a colleague, a film producer, also from Toronto, Simcha Yakubovich, So he was actually did quite a lot of work with National Geographic, and
Mm,
last time I spoke with them, they insisted on calling the West Bank Palestine, and totally not even mentioning Israel. And he wouldn't do that. And he lost. I think
God
he
bless
sued
him.
for just under 1 million shekels or something like that for totally destroy, like sabotage, trying to sabotage the film.
As insane as this sounds, as this may sound to the viewers, um, there is TDS. There is a temple denial syndrome. The New
Yes.
York Times even once wrote about it. They wrote about something like the alleged Jewish temple, that there's no
Yeah.
proof of, and people went insane. They're like, "You're the New York Times. Of course there's."
Yeah.
And of course, I think as a Jew, I look at them and I'm like, they're crazy. Go away.
Right.
We're here for
The
2,000
New
years.
York Post is better. Check out the Post.
Right. So, but think about it. If the temple is denied, well, there go a lot of the world's major religions
Well,
out the
here's the thing:
window.
is this is it. This is actually it. So when that hole came up on the Temple Mount, it's so timely, Eliyahu, as you know, through your reporting. But and I know, look, even if it is, let's say it's a drainage tunnel, it's a channel, it's about a meter deep. Let's just say it's just quote unquote a drainage channel that goes to the Kidron Valley. Okay, the Romans built it. Have to do with the tunnels underneath the Temple Mount. There's over 50 tunnels, known tunnels underneath the Temple Mount, and there may be a connection that's certainly worth finding out.
Yeah. So as I said, there's the scientific side, there's the political side, and of course
Right.
there's the religious side. As a Jew, I want to know. I want to know about this, and
Sure,
and
of
it's
course.
it's funny they the in the political debate they'll say that the religious people are the science deniers. As one of the
Why?
fascinating things is, like, you as a man of faith,
Right.
your archaeology, it reinforced my faith. you know that's the
The
beautiful
idea.
thing about this. So if you would come up
Yeah.
to me and say, yes, there's a tunnel, it's from the second temple, and you were
Yeah.
talking about the drainage from the altar. Oh, they found remains of dried blood on the stone, which they actually did on some of these tunnels. Where would the dried blood come from? I remember there
Right.
was an archaeologist. He was a secular Jew, Israeli, and they found an altar that was buried under stones, and they found a lot of bones. And they
For
looked at
sure.
the type of bones they found, which animals they belonged to, and they could tell that this was an altar, and it could not possibly be anything else. So from
Absolutely.
this, from the smallest clues, things like
Yeah.
this can be hugely have huge import for 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 faith, for Bible. I mean,
Absolutely.
yes,
It
it's
just so happens that the way God made it was, and everything God does, of course, is for the good. This flagstone was actually in very close proximity to the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
hmm,
Sort of between that and the gate. So that allowed a lot of political. That's why the PMO didn't give the green light. One of the reasons, and also you have the UAE, the whole piece. It would have rocked the boat, and they would have said, "Oh, Al-Aqsa is under siege." The normal libels that go around that the PA, the Palestinians, are habitually doing. And then, of course, you have it followed by the Day of Rage or Days of
yeah,
Rage.
yeah.
That's a typical thing.
So
So,
you mentioned the tunnel complex underneath, and first of all, a lot of people don't know this, that there is the Herod. He made the southern half of the Temple Mount. There's a huge complex under there. The Marwani
yeah,
Shul, the Marwani Shul. It's, God willing, going to be a synagogue one day. The Marwani Mosque, um, underneath the southern end, which a lot of people refer to as Solomon's Stables.
right.
Uh, it was an underground space that Herod prepared, and now it's a mosque that can fit over 10,000 worshipers. This is a huge
Right.
space, huge.
Yeah.
and there's a temple complex under there. Um, One of the things that you wrote about in the Ark report
Yeah.
is that this temple complex may be the hiding place for the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes, I think it is. I mean,
Why do you think so?
I really believe it is. Like, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, it's my own theory. I better be sure. But I have a lot to
You
base
make a
it on.
good case for it in the book. So
Yeah, and the book isn't even the whole thing. I have there's more to it. In fact, I'm working now, just finishing my second book, which will be a continuation. There's so many more discoveries, so many more things that have come up in the past 3 years that I'm actually making a second book. And actually, if you know a good publisher, might as well put in a plug for it, and maybe I'll put the two books together. But yeah, for sure, I think that the Ark is definitely down there. It's about 3 or 4 stories under, so to speak, floors, if you could say that, because there's a lot of columns, right? It's all columns, arches
mhm.
over arches, right? That's what it says in the Maimonides. The Rambam says it as well in a couple of his books. But so he actually says over there, and also the Malbim and other Jewish sources, commentaries on the Mishnah and on the Talmud, etc., that the Ark really is down there. It's been down there for 2,700 years, and that in fact is what gives the kedusha, the holiness, to the Western Wall, to the whole Temple Mount. And that actually, if the Ark wasn't down there, just practically speaking, there wouldn't be a way for the priests, my own ancestors, the Kohanim, to continue doing the temple service in the whole 420 years of the Second Temple, where the Ark was still hidden underneath the Temple Mount, actually directly underneath the Holy of Holies.
Mm. Which is the Golden Dome.
Well, that's the thing. That's my
Okay.
theory. That's the Kiddush. That's the novelty. It's not directly underneath the Golden Dome, the Dome of the Rock, as many people believe. It's actually just to the southwest of that, and I prove that in my book exactly how that is, using all kinds of different proofs. But we now know, and also in terms of we have the technology, etc. There's also, in the Western Wall tunnels, there's actually proofs as well. There's that massive stone. There's a reason that it's there. The
You
570 plus.
actually, when we discussed this issue, you said that in the Dome of the Rock, a lot of people don't know this, there is a chamber underneath,
Right,
and that's called the Well of Souls, I believe it's called.
right, right.
And
Yeah, it's a cave,
they
essentially.
and they changed the. I'm sorry, what was that?
It's basically a cave, but
It's
it
a
is, yeah,
and there are, since it's a, I guess the Muslims usurped it and put down carpets, and they went
right,
to change the carpets, and underneath was a large round mosaic.
right. Actually, two of them, to be honest.
Okay, and tell me about these mosaics.
So that was huge when that came out a couple of years ago. An Arab actually took the pictures himself, and you see that underneath the carpeting that there are these mosaics, beautiful mosaics, and this round circle about 2 feet. Actually, ironically, the size of the same size approximately the hole that surfaced the other day.
Yeah.
Uh, and going there, there's 2 tunnels underneath the Dome of the Rock actually that Charles Warren was able to actually map out. The number 1 and number 3, they both go directly underneath the Dome of the Rock. And I believe personally that these I guess shafts that go down lead to those tunnels. Those tunnels is I would say, I mean, I would say there's a better than average chance that would lead to a
Mm.
chamber. Now,
Well, um, yeah.
don't forget that, when I think that one of the reasons why people like Charles Warren, which were sent, by the way, by that expedition, by the Palestine Expedition Fund. So that whole fund was set up by Queen Victoria 100 years ago or so, 150 years ago, in order to find the Ark. People don't realize that, but that's actually why
Oh.
she sent the explorers. So, but why did they find it? Why did the Knights Templar find it? Why did the Crusaders find it? Because, in my opinion, they're actually looking for an ark, a golden object, right? A golden box. But what they should be looking for is a chamber, an actual room,
Right.
because that was what was set up. It's with golden tiles, like literally like the Holy of Holies above it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's. I remember when one year my yeshiva we went to visit, and at the southern wall of the kotel, people can go on the stairs, but there's a part they can't go to. There are tunnels there that were used
Yeah,
by the priests. If they
right,
became ritually impure, they could use it. Those tunnels lead from the southern wall of the kotel all the way of the western wall complex up to the directly up to where the temple was, so they could
right,
scoot down into these tunnels and get out if they became ritually impure. Um,
exactly.
and
And we know where they are today. We know where they are.
I
I know
was
where.
I was in one of those tunnels, at least the opening on the southern end, and
Right,
we were with a tour guide, and the tour guide picked me. She said, "Okay, go there, and I want you to go under. And there's a place where it'll go to the left and to the right. Go to the right, and you'll come up, and you'll see that you'll come out near us, and we can see you." And my rabbi
right.
said, "You picked the wrong guy. He's going to make a
Uh,
left." Because I wanted to keep going. I wanted to, but I'm not a Cohen. I'm not a priest, so I
it's
wouldn't do
sealed,
it.
actually. It's sealed up in the middle, intentionally.
Ah!
Yeah.
I should have took a hammer with me. I would have.
You know what?
I
But
would
if
have done
we
it.
actually, if we did take that tunnel theoretically and went all the way to the top, to what's called the Beit of Hamokeh, the chamber of the fire, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
that's where the Kohanim, the priests, used to sit at night and then warm up. It was a huge chamber, and so if we actually see where it surfaces, we would know the exact position of the temple and the Holy of Holies and everything else.
So,
Uh,
so right now, it's kind of amazing that the Western Wall is a retaining wall. It wasn't even part of the
right.
temple, and the
Yeah.
it frustrates me when I see Jews praying there, because it's like you're praying. It's like praying at the retaining wall without going into the garden, you know.
Right. It's a
And
shame,
it, it's
we should be up
unbelievable.
there. We should be up there, and we're down here. We should be up there. Why are we doing?
And
It's gullus.
even if we
It's bad.
went up there, if you go around, there are gates that are sealed. There are underground gates to underground tunnels that are sealed. We're
Sure.
really just skittering along the surface of what used to be the temple. And
Yeah, I
there's
mean Warren's Gate. Warren's Gate
Warren's
is like
exactly.
that's
And
just sort of
even
the thing.
even the southern wall, the gates are sealed up.
Sure.
And
Right.
here we had an opportunity, as you said. It was like from
Yeah.
heaven that God's
Yeah.
popped it open and said, "Here it is.
Here's your chance.
Go, stop playing around the surface, go inside." And we blew it, and we just
Yeah.
said, "No, no, we don't want to." And
Well, I think there'll be another opportunity. I'm
think
almost
so.
positive. Yeah, I'm sure of it. If one came out, there's going to be more, especially if they're driving trucks, for God's sake. But, I really believe that there will be more, and there'll be more pressure on the government. You see, what it is, in essence, Eliyahu, is applying Israeli sovereignty. That's really what we're talking about. And at the end of the day, that's what we'd be doing. We're applying sovereignty to this part of the Temple Mount. And, going with that, and so, you have to be strong and you have to say, yes, this is ours. And eventually we're going to do that. We're going to be forced to do that. People are going to be protesting. People are going to be, you know,
So you think this is entirely from the government?
what do you mean? The fact that they didn't do it?
Yeah, I'm wondering, because there's something that I run into an awful lot, where when we said all archaeology in Israel is biblical, there's a very strong movement that's actually been ruling the archaeology world in Israel for a very long time, to claim that archaeology in Israel is not biblical. The first archaeologists who came, as you said, from in the 19th and 20th century, they came with Bible in hand, and they were
Right.
using the Bible as a guidebook. And at some point, the Bible not only stopped becoming a guidebook, but there was a strong movement within the archaeology field to discredit anything having to do with the Bible, to the point where they said King David never existed.
You have that today, Israel Finkelstein. A lot of these
Yeah.
archaeologists today, on the left side, the minimalist movement, as it's called, we'll do whatever it takes to, that whole, it's a whole theory, it's a whole school of thought.
So I'm wondering if maybe that had a little bit to do with this. It's funny because when we talk about the anti-science here, people of the Bible would be like, go for it, don't jump at it, do your archaeology. And they're fudging it and shutting down anything that might contradict the proof that the Bible is actually true.
Well, they don't want to rock the boat, the timing of it, and I understand this to a certain degree. I mean, we just had this huge agreement with the UAE, right, with the United Arab Emirates, and they don't want to rock the boat with the Arab world because it's close to Al-Aqsa in proximity, etc. I mean, I understand that, but 6 months down the road or whatever, or less, I would try to lobby the government and say, take that cement down. It's about time, we did that. Now, who knows? There may be more elections, or maybe another election, and there may be a more right-wing government. There may be no government. It's hard to say. But eventually it's heading in that direction. And I would definitely, it's an exciting time to be in. I would look forward to doing that myself, actually, if I ever got permission to actually go down there.
Yeah, Harry is a Cohen. He would be the man. We'd send down a little robot that we put through the ritual bath to make him ritually pure, and then we'd send down the Rabbi Moskoff to open up the way.
First, I would say we'll send down a remote control video prototype, and to check out what's down there. No, I don't want any like Indiana Jones snakes and scorpions. No, I hate snakes.
God willing, and you go down, and then when you get back, I'll interview you.
Sure, good deal.
Okay, I think we'll end here to leave my viewers wanting a little bit more. I can't emphasize enough. When you learning about archaeology in Israel is learning about the Bible. Rabbi Moskoff certainly took that approach when he wrote his book, The Ark Report. And when we're talking about the Bible, we're talking about things that, God willing, are being revealed every day here in Israel. So,
and like you said, I want to mention that it really is a fight again from darkness. It's a spiritual darkness, a fight of the Sitra Achra, meaning forces of darkness that don't want Mashiach to come, don't want the Messiah to come, don't want things to happen. They don't want, there are forces out there.
They want to keep it all covered up. If you don't
keep it all covered up, it's like breaking through a barrier, a klipa, it's called, and making like I don't know how you say that in English. It's like a husk. You have to break through this husk of darkness and redouble darkness, as the Rabbi would say, and actually, and that's what's going to bring it. It's hard work, and you have to be strong spiritually. But that's what we're fighting against. It's not just the physical getting down the hole type of thing. It's a whole spiritual battle that's going on.
Absolutely. So this was Rabbi Harry Moskoff. As I said, I love this book a lot. It's on my desk every day, The Ark Report. He tells the truth. The truth is being revealed every day, and the forces of darkness are trying to cover it up. So you got to keep looking at it, uncovering it, and working it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So as I said, Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz from Israel 365 News, Rabbi Harry Moskoff of the Ark Report. This is the light coming out of Zion. Be blessed, y'all, and have a great day.
Thank you.